All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash. Giving double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. It's your brother Radha, out of the GMS Atlanta camp. Coming back with a quick lesson, and this lesson was inspired by this video right here. It says no microchipping employees in Washington, and it was placed in the chat by the brother Anna, out of the camp also. And, it goes into microchipping employees, in Washington, or, basically that's what it goes into. This is something that's been put on the table, and then later he mentions Social Security, but I want to go into like the whole system of everything that Babylon the Great has set forth and, implemented, has these people blinded. These people actually think Social Security benefits them, which it doesn't, man, because, we'll get into that later, but most people don't even receive the amount of money that they put in. You spend your whole life paying into this system, as long as you've been working. And then once you retire or you reach the age, I think it's like 65 or something like that, and they keep pushing it up. But once you reach this age, you probably don't even have 5 years or 10 years at best, to even live. But you've been paying into this 40 years, some cases people paying it, 50 years, however many. So you don't receive what you put in, and that's a scam, man, but these people are content with this. So we'll just get into that, and, we can play this video and get some context of what's going on here. And, this is fair use.
Proposals that employers, this starts in other states, are asking, it always starts out voluntary, for employees to have a microchip under their skin, like in their hand, let's say, so that you just wave it in front of a reader, and it's used for security or getting into a building or accessing certain areas. It's supposed to be really convenient. But of course, this idea horrifies a lot of people. So a bill has been introduced by Representative Breanne Thomas she represents Seattle and Vashon. She's a Democrat. Her bill is HB 2303, and it would, very simple, prohibit any employer from requesting, requiring, or coercing employees to have a microchip implanted under their skin. This is
And, this wouldn't even be a thing if it wasn't true. She wouldn't be introducing this bill if it wasn't something that she has heard or, have a clue about. It's going to happen, even though she introduced this bill or whatever, this is the plan, of the wicked elite, even more so the plan of, the Heavenly Father, man, to separate, his elect from the rest of these people out here, man. It's the ultimate test, the hour of temptation, and it's written about. Matter of fact, we'll get it. I already got it queued up, and we know this, man. We're going to constantly go into this, because this is where we are. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16. It says, he causes all, both small, great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and it's at this point, it's just plain, man. It's all over, everywhere. The Apostle Tahar just put a video up of this guy in China. He's waving his hand, putting his hand in front of this scanner, paying for food, and it looked like a little convenience store. So, we're almost here, man. The Apostle Tahar put it up, said, yeah, it could be 6 months from now before they implement this chip. So verse 17, it says that no man may buy or sell save he that had the mark. And working, going. It involves work. You won't be able to work. You won't medical care. You know, all this is included, man. You know, you won't be able to buy or sell. First of all, if you don't have this chip, according to this video, you won't even be able to work, man. So let's continue on, and then we're gonna get into the scam of Babylon the Great. You know, one of the scams of Babylon the Great.
An obvious idea, if you ask me. The problem with these proposals, and again, this has started in some other states, is it starts out voluntary, and then before you know it, the boss is saying, no, it's mandatory. The other part of coercion is they'll say something, the company, let's say, sometimes the government does this. Hey, we're not forcing you to do anything. We're just going to make your life really, really difficult until you comply. So these mandates, whether it's in the private...
Man, and this guy is spot on. You know, he don't have a clue, or he hasn't mentioned, the mark of the beast, but this is pretty much what it's going into. He hasn't mentioned the mark of the beast as a whole. But what he just, said was, they said, oh, we're not forcing you, but at the same time, you won't be able to eat, you won't be able to work, you won't be able to sell anything. So basically, you're going to be starved out all the way into death, man. Or even put to death for not taking it, or standing up against it, or opposing it, So let's continue on.
Sector or the public sector are always suspicious when they start out supposedly voluntary. Usually there's some kind of suggested coercion behind it. So Representative Thomas is getting ahead of this problem. We commend her for it. And this should be a very popular bipartisan idea. It is certainly something that Washington Policy Center would support. And we'll see how that bill does. It also brings up this apocalyptic future of science fiction that you hear about, where people are being turned into robots, or advance and be mechanized. The more digital.
And this is this devil's plan, man. We see it, with the Neuralink. It's starting out with the meta glasses. This technology will be eventually placed inside of your head, placed inside of your body. Being able to record things with your eyes, being able to recognize things, other languages, just by looking at it, man. This is going to happen. This is what they want to happen. So the idea of people being cyborgs is not far-fetched. This devil has been working on this for years, and the technology is almost here, man. You can look at the movie RoboCop. That was back in like the 80s. So this has been on this devil's mind for a long time, man, to integrate technology with the body, which goes against what Yahweh Shem Shai has set forth. A human body that's already designed with ultimate technology from the Lord, man. So this man really just wants to surpass the Lord, which is not going to happen. So let's continue on.
Technology we have, the better. It's the first step to a brave new world. I know that this all sounds kind of over the top, but we have seen that ideas start out small and then they tend to grow. It reminded me, from a policy point of view, of the original thinking of the Social Security number that was enacted first in the 1930s. It only applied to people who were in the workforce, number one. And number two, the government only assigned you a Social Security number when you got your first job. So when you entered the workforce, you got a number. Well, here we are today in the modern world, and Social Security numbers are now issued mandatorily to every baby that's born in the United States. So it went from being a number for workers and for a social insurance program like Social Security to now it's our national identification number that applies to everybody. So I'm just explaining that that's the way these things grow, and we need to watch out. I'm not necessarily saying that Social Security numbers are bad. It's just that they start out small and then gradually expand, and by the way, become a mandate for everyone. So it's something to watch out for.
If you found this informative, share it with a friend and consider...
All right, So he's saying, Social Security numbers aren't bad, So I just went in, because it's known, this comes from the wicked elite. So I just typed in, when was Social Security created and why and where, Salaki? When was Social Security created and why were the Rockefellers involved? And we know that, that's the case, but of course chat is gonna, play that off. But we know the truth, man. But, you know, um, this is just going into how Social Security was a scam. And the MOTB will be a similar way to, control the masses, man, just like now. It says Social Security in the United States was created during the Great Depression as a part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. So we see now, the world is in turmoil. The United States is in turmoil. So it's going to be an event, And hey, man, it's like Donald Trump is really about to crash the dollar. The United States dollar is falling, crashing as we speak. So, these things have been done before, and we see it, But the thing about it is that the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, has given us the anointing, of our eyes, with the eye salve, which is the Holy Spirit, the Scriptures, to be able to see and understand this, man. Starting with our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, we see this, man. We see what's coming. So it says, when was Social Security created? 1935. Social Security Act was signed into law on August 14th, 1935. First payroll taxes collected, 1937. First monthly benefits paid, 1940. It says why it was created. Social Security was designed to provide financial support for elderly Americans who could no longer work, which seems to be a good idea, on the surface. It says assist the disabled, support widows, orphans, and survivors, widows, orphans, and survivors, reduce poverty among the aged, which was extreme during the Great Depression. Before Social Security, many elderly people had no income at all once they stopped working. So it says, were the Rockefellers involved? This is where the lie comes in. It says, short answer, no. Not in the way many people claim. The myth, it says, you'll often hear that the Rockefeller family created Social Security. It was designed to control people, steal wealth, and fund private bank interests. And at this point, man, hey, we already know that's the truth. We know that's the truth. It says these claims are not supported by historical. Why do you need historical evidence when, you're living it out? You're seeing this take place. It says Social Security was actually true. Social Security was designed to and passed by the United States government, not private families. Let's see. It says why the Rockefeller name gets mentioned. Rockefeller philanthropy influenced public health, and we know these people used petroleum products to create these medicines that people take these to this day, man. They highly influenced the medical industry. Got away from natural healing and implemented these drugs. People are not stupid. It says public administration and social policy, and that goes into your school systems and stuff like that, man. And hey, man, we know all this is being revealed. The history that they taught you in school was all lies. All this is a program set up to control people. It says some experts involved in the government later worked in institutions that had received Rockefeller funding. They were paid off. So, pretty much chat is, trying to cover up for these people, man. But like I said, we got the ISAP, man. Yahweh Shem Shai has blessed us with the capability and the ability to see through the nonsense, man. So, it goes on, but this is where the scheme come in. I put most people won't receive what they put in. It says the statement is largely true. Most people will not receive back what they personally put in, and this is by design, not a mistake or secret. It says most people won't get back what they paid in, because eventually you're going to get old and die. You work these 40, 50 years and you paying all this money in, and then you got 5 years at the max or 10 years to live to receive the benefits. That's a scam, man. That's a Ponzi scheme. It says Social Security is not a personal savings account. The U.S. system is pay as you go. Your payroll taxes today pay current retirees, like a pyramid scheme, man. Says your benefits later depend on future workers, not your own contribution. So now, we see AI taking over the workforce. People are getting laid off left and right. So where's, AI is, you just had 30,000 UPS employees get laid off due to the implementation of AI, artificial intelligence. Amazon, 16,000 people. So where will this future money come from, man? So if you're currently working and AI is taking the jobs, it's not going to be any money put in the system. So but the thing about it, people love and people have been blinded by Babylon the Great. It says many people die before breaking even. That's the scam. Many people die before breaking even. And just to speed it up a little bit, I did ask, okay. It says what Social Security really is, plain truth. It is not an investment, not a personal account, not wealth building. So what's the point, man? It says it is a mandatory transfer system, a poverty prevention program. So why is there so many people in poverty if this system is working? It says a safety net for old age disability and, whatever. So I put, where does the money go when you die? And we'll get into that. But let's get a scripture. You don't want to ramble on. Definitely got to tie this in, but we'll go to the book of Jeremiah 51 and drop down to verse 6, because this is Babylon. Okay, we'll just get it. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 6. It says, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. So this is speaking to the Israelites, first and foremost, the elect in this present day. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. And this is not talking about packing your bags, getting up, leaving. This is speaking of spiritually, which this is where we are, man. Like I say, Yahweh Shem Shai has gave us that eye salve to be able to see what's going on, by way of this truth, man. So we are not attached to Babylon the Great, and we're trying to have our soul delivered. We're trying to gain salvation. So we already got the playbook, man. We already know. We see what's going on, and Lord willing, all sincere brothers, endure until the end, man. We definitely want to be a part of the elect. So it says, be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. So all the things that this place has done, mainly first and foremost against the Israelites, even to his own citizens, man. Stealing your money, pretty much. You're working, you're paying just to have a job. you're pretty much paying these people to have a job. So it says, verse 7, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, Lord Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken her wine, and that wine is the philosophies of this place, the policies of this place, Social Security, speaking of the citizens here, even the foreigners that come here, so-called foreigners, the other nations that come here and make a place here, man. They've been drunken by the wine of Babylon, which is America. It says, therefore the nations are mad. Eventually these people are going to understand. First and foremost, the citizens of Babylon the Great are going to wake up and understand that they've been played, man. Played. Hey, Babylon the Great, aka America, is like a what you call it? A hypnotist. People has been hypnotized by the policies, the wine. They actually believe that they have a place. They have a say-so here. Social Security is set up for me when I retire. But that's your money, man. That you have put in for that. Why do they need to take your money out? If you want to save your own money, you could do so. Why do you have to pay them to do it? It's crazy, man. So verse 7, it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. This place is not going to be healed. This place is going to be ultimately destroyed, and that's what it's going into, the destruction of Babylon the Great. And people waking up, because we got to understand, before this happens, you're going to have martial law. You're going to have probably, a civil war, because people are waking up to the fact that it's all an illusion, man. So verse 9, it says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country. So once these other nations wake up, the people that's here, they see ICE running rampant, snatching up Somalis. These people are going to flee back to their own countries, man, because they're not wanted here. Babylon the Great has used people up to the point of no return, and now the using is not working anymore. So, hey, it's over with. They don't have no use for you no more, because Babylon the Great is on his last leg, man. So it says, for her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. So, Yahweh Shem Shai is going to destroy this place. So let's go back to chat. It says, where does the money go when you die? It says, when you die, the Social Security money tied to you does not get refunded or passed on like an account balance. Here's exactly where it goes step by step. Short answer, it stays in the Social Security system and is used to pay other beneficiaries, unless you have eligible survivors, and at that point, if it's not your wife, which she gonna be old too at that point, she ain't gonna receive it. Let's see what the eligible survivors are. If you have eligible survivors, some benefits may be paid. A spouse, especially if she's 60, so she's gonna be old. Minor children, who gonna have children if you that old? Minor children. Disabled adult children, that's possible. In rare cases, dependent parents. It says these payments come from the system, not your balance. So it says where the money actually sits. Social Security funds flow through the Social Security Trust Fund, which holds U.S. Treasury bonds backed by the federal government. And we know, man, when you die, your contributions effectively reduce the system's burden. The funds support others who live longer and qualify for your benefits. So why wouldn't this money go back to your family, man? You know, this is crazy, man. Hey, plain truth, no sugarcoating. When you die, you don't get your money back. Your family doesn't inherit it. In most cases, the system keeps it. Babylon the Great is a scam, man. Babylon the Great is a scam. That's the bottom line. So let's see. We'll go to the book of Romans. Then we'll close it out. This book of Romans. Salaki. Romans. Chapter 12. It's the book of Romans, chapter 12, and verse 1. You know, and this is where we are, man. This is gonna be the mentality of the elect, you know, as it pertains to everything that goes on around us, man. You know, this is where we are. Lord willing, I'm one of those men. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that ye may present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yahweh Shem Yahushua, which is your reasonable service. So our dedication is to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, not Babylon the Great, not the system, not the world. It's to the Lord, man. So you know, if we get Social Security, which we probably won't, you know, this place is going to be well destroyed by the time, you know, brothers get that far up in age, Lord willing. Verse 2, it says, and be not conformed to the world. Don't buy into this stuff, man. Don't buy into the American dream. Don't buy into 40 acres and a mule. You know, that's a lie. You know, this devil said he was going to give you 40 acres and a mule and never did. Why would you even believe that, man? So it says, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The Lord has given us that eye salve, man, to be able to see through the lies, the deceit of this devil. It says that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And that's what we're doing, man. Making our bodies a living sacrifice. You know, putting Yahweh Shem Yahushua first and foremost before anything, man. Whether it's your family, your job, whatever it is, man. So, you know, it's all gonna pay off in the end, man. Brothers, hey, stay strong out here. Continue to do Yahweh Shem Yahushua's will, man. You know, we almost here. And, you know, with that being said, we want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Shalom.